Hello everyone, my name is Shruti Kotnala and I study in class 11th. I study in Cambridge School Indrapuram and these days I am doing an internship under the guidance of Dr. Shanil Tripathi. This internship is all about financial literacy and equity cult, and in the very first session of this internship we learned how to find a good share. In the second session of this internship we learned how to find out whether we are getting a share at a good price or not. And today I'm going to summarize all my learnings. Now, very first thing which I learned is that we do not buy a share on the basis of its price, but we buy a share on the basis of its valuation. Price is what we pay and valuation is what we get in return. Valuation of a share is a technique which helps us to tell the correct fair value of a company. It helps us to determine whether we are getting a share at a cheaper rate or at a costlier rate at that point of time. Now, there are two ways in which we can find out the valuation of a company. The very first way is the per unit of earning, that is the PE ratio, and the second way is per unit of book value, that is PB ratio. Now, whenever we are comparing two or more companies, and if the PE ratio is higher, it means then that company's share is costly. If the PE ratio is less, it means that company's share is cheaper among those companies which we are comparing. Now, there are few exceptions as well. There might be few companies whose PE ratio is generally high, as they provide some additional features and provide some additional qualities as well. Therefore, we should always compare past 10 years performance of those companies, as well as we should check out the median PE with the current PE of the companies. Next, let's talk about per unit of book value, that is the PB ratio. Again, if we are comparing two or more companies and the PB ratio is higher, then that company's share is costlier, and if the PB ratio is less, then that company's share is cheaper. As I mentioned in the PE ratio, there are exceptions. Similarly, in PB ratio, we have exceptions, and thus we should check out past 10 years performance of the companies and check out median PB and compare it with the current PB of the company. Now, the very next thing which I learned is that broadly we can divide all the companies into new age companies and old age companies. New age companies are those companies which do not have an office, which do not have land, which do not have furniture, but they may have an office on rent. They may have 50 to 100 employees. One such example is of Zomato. And old age companies are those companies which have land, furniture, factories, for example, those of steel, automobiles, and cement companies. Now, for new age companies, we generally refer to the PE ratio, and for old age companies, we generally refer to the PB ratio. And the very last thing which I learned in this session was that we should compare companies of the same segment with that particular segment. For example, a FMCG company should be compared with an FMCG company. A small cap company should be compared with a small cap company. And if you are wondering about what is the book value is if you sell all the assets of a company and use that money to pay all the liabilities. And if we divide all that remaining amount among the shareholders, then we get the book value of a company. These are all my learnings from this session. Thank you very much, sir, for this.